All right, let's talk about one of the most powerful and maybe one of the most feared inventions out there, the ballistic missile. We're going to peel back all the complex layers to really get how these things work, from the simple physics all the way up to their massive role in global strategy. Okay, let's jump right in.
So I want to start with a question that might sound a little strange. What could a simple thrown stone and a continent-crossing missile possibly have in common? Well, it turns out the answer is pretty much everything that matters. They both follow the exact same fundamental rule of physics.
And that rule is what we call a ballistic trajectory. See, the word ballistic just means that after one big, powerful push at the beginning, the object is basically just coasting. It's unpowered, flying along a predictable curve that's shaped almost completely by gravity. That's the connection. A missile is just a way faster and a whole lot more complicated version of that exact same thrown stone.
But of course, it's not just a stone, right? There's a bit more to it than that. So let's break down what actually makes these incredible machines tick. When you get right down to it, every ballistic missile is really built from three essential systems that have to work together perfectly.
First up, you've got the propulsion system. That's the massive rocket engine that gives it that initial powerful shove. Then there's the guidance system. Think of it as the super smart electronic brain, making sure this thing ends up exactly where it's supposed to go. And finally, you have the payload, or the warhead. That's the cargo, and it's the whole reason for the trip.
Let's zoom in on that engine for a second. The type of fuel you pick for the propulsion system is one of the most critical choices you can make, and it creates this fundamental trade-off in what a missile can and can't do.
On one side, you've got liquid fuel. It's incredibly powerful, and you can control it. You can throttle the engine, you can even shut it down if you need to. The downside? It's really complex, and the fuels can be nasty and corrosive, making them hard to keep ready to go for years on end. Then you have solid fuel. Now this is basically like a giant firework. It's super stable, you can store it for decades, and it's ready to launch at a moment's notice. But here's the catch. Once you light that fuse, there's no stopping it. It burns until it's completely gone. So it all boils down to a choice. Do you want control or do you want readiness?
So, okay, the fuel is lit, the engines roar to life. What happens next? Well, a missile launched from one side of the world to the other goes on this absolutely epic journey that takes, believe it or not, only about 30 minutes. Let's follow it on its path.
The whole flight breaks down into three very distinct phases. It all kicks off with the boost phase. This is a violent 3 to 5 minute powered climb that literally punches the missile right out of the Earth's atmosphere. Then comes the midcourse phase. This is the long, quiet part of the ride, about 20 minutes of silent, unpowered coasting through the vacuum of space, just following that ballistic arc we talked about. And finally, we hit the terminal phase. This is where the warhead separates, screams back into the atmosphere, and plummets down toward its target.
Now, here's what's absolutely wild. That last part, the terminal phase, it lasts for less than 60 seconds. Think about that. From the edge of space to impact in under a minute. That unbelievable speed is exactly what makes trying to stop a ballistic missile one of the biggest technological challenges you can possibly imagine.
And this chart just puts those speeds into perspective. The speed of sound, Mach 1, is already pretty fast. Your typical tactical missiles blow past Mach 5, which gets them into what we call hypersonic territory. But an intercontinental ballistic missile, an ICBM, during that long coast through space, it can hit speeds around Mach 20. That's over 24,000 kilometers an hour. It's just mind-bendingly fast.
So we know how they work, but who actually has these incredible machines? Let's zoom out now and take a look at the bigger picture and kind of see how these arsenals are set up across the globe.
You know, the term ballistic missile is actually a really broad category. When you get down to it, the main difference between them all really just comes down to one simple thing: range. How far can this thing fly?
And that gives us four main classes. You've got your short-range missiles, or SRBMs. These are tactical weapons meant for the battlefield with a range under 1,000 kilometers. Then you move up to medium and intermediate range, which can hit targets across a region. But the real game changers, the ones that shape global politics, are the intercontinental ballistic missiles, the ICBMs. With ranges over 5,500 kilometers, they can pretty much strike a target anywhere on the planet.
And if you look at a few of these key examples, you can see how their designs are all about strategy. Take the US and UK's Trident II. It's launched from a submarine. Why is that a big deal? Because a nuclear sub is the ultimate stealth weapon. It guarantees what's called a second strike capability. You can't destroy what you can't find, which means retaliation is always on the table. Then you have Russia's RS-28 Sarmat. This thing can carry more than 10 warheads. It's designed to overwhelm any possible defense system just with sheer numbers. And then China's DF-41 and North Korea's Hwasong-16 are road mobile. Unlike a missile in a fixed silo, you can hide these anywhere, making a preemptive strike a nearly impossible guessing game. Every single design is a calculated move in a high-stakes global chess match.
So, this all leads us to the final and honestly the most important question of all. Why? Why do these weapons even exist? What is their ultimate purpose in the world today?
The answer in just one word is deterrence. But this isn't just about having a big stick. It's based on a really specific and, frankly, chilling logic called mutually assured destruction, or MAD. The core idea is that if two opponents both have unstoppable nuclear weapons, then whoever attacks first knows they will be wiped out by a retaliatory strike. There are no winners, it's just total annihilation for both sides. The terrifying threat of that outcome is what's supposed to stop a war from ever starting in the first place.
Which, of course, leads to the obvious question. Well, why not just build a shield? Can't you defend yourself against an incoming missile? And while countries have poured trillions of dollars and decades of research into trying to do just that, the reality is, it's unbelievably hard.
I mean, just think about it. You're trying to hit a bullet with another bullet, except these bullets are moving 20 times faster than the speed of sound. The warhead spends most of its journey in the vacuum of space where a lot of defenses can't even reach. On top of that, missiles can release the cloud of decoys and chaff to completely confuse radar. And then there's the knockout punch we saw earlier, MIRVs. One missile launching 10 or more separate warheads, making it practically impossible for any defense system to get them all.
And that kind of leaves us with this one final sobering thought. In a world that is armed with weapons that are, for all practical purposes, unstoppable, the main thing keeping them from being used isn't a shield, it's not an interceptor, it's the shared, global understanding of the absolute catastrophe that would follow. The very thing that makes these weapons so terrifying is also the one thing that has, so far, kept them locked away in their silos.